This episode of Sideline Warning is brought to you by Roosport, makers of the original magnetic running pouch. Whether you're biking, running, hiking, or even traveling, the Roosport clips to your waistband with magnets for an easy, convenient way to carry what you need without the bulk of belts or bags. Visit theroosport.com and use the code SIDELINE30, all lowercase, for 30% off their entire product line. Again, that's theroosport.com, promo code SIDELINE30. And now on with the show.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is Sideline Warning, the show where sports takes are sure to go way too far into the field. Here to recap this week's biggest and best sports stories are your hosts, Dave Adams, Ben Foster, and Adam Russell.
And welcome into Sideline Warning. It's me, the new golden voice of the Southeast. That's right, Hollywood Ben Foster. Dave is out, but don't worry, I have brought one of my friends along. Here he is, the phenomenal brother, Adam Russell.
Hey, how you doing, Ben? I'm excited to see how this goes. I think we can hold our own, man.
No, I think we've got this down pat. In fact, it's probably going to be a better show since Dave is not around. So I think we're primed and ready for a great show. We've got a ton of stuff that we're going to cover tonight. We're going to cover some basketball action. We're going to cover some Alliance football action, and it's just going to be an all-around good show. And you know, it's going to be fun because Dave's not here to interrupt us. Isn't that great, Adam?
Hate to burst your bubble, gentlemen.
Excuse me.
Wait.
Hate to burst your bubble.
Who is that?
Oh, no.
The gold voice of the Southeast has every muscle in my body aches, but I'm here.
Oh, as soon as the words were out of my mouth, he wasn't going to interrupt us.
Unfortunately, his vocal cords are the only muscle in his body not cramping right now.
You thought you'd get rid of me, but the golden voice of the Southeast, all the way from the top of the state of Alabama in Harvest, Alabama, is in live and in living color tonight. I'm here, gentlemen.
Hi, Dave.
Hey, Dave.
So, Ben, what's this about you saying you're the golden voice tonight?
Well, I just meant that you know, everything was looking golden with the plan we had for the show.
Well, I had the medal around my neck from the half marathon, which is golden too. That was part of the inspiration.
Actually, no, Adam is pink.
No, that's gold. Aurora is gold.
And pink.
Yeah, pink sparkles. Some of the sparkles are gold. Did you get pixie dusted at the finish line, Dave? I did.
Did you? Well, because I was in a wheelchair because as soon as we crossed the finish line, every joint and muscle and everything just seized up on me. But I can say this, I crossed the finish line standing.
That's all that matters.
It still sounds terrible. I'm really glad I did not run.
Hey, but guess what?
Good thing that's your last race, Dave.
No, guess what? I'm doing it again in November. I'm going to do the Wine and Dine Challenge, which means on Saturday I will be running the 10K, and on Sunday I'll be running the half marathon.
And that's wine with an H, right?
No, I did
because
enough
all that
of
running. I can imagine there would be some of that.
I did enough whining on the course, and as I recall, I wasn't the only one whining, Adam.
Wait, so
there were a lot of people around us. You're right.
So help me out here. What did you just run this weekend?
The Princess Half Marathon.
You ran a half marathon, and what happened after you crossed the finish line?
My joints and my muscles seized up, and because I pushed myself too hard. Because I had somebody at mile 12 saying, "Look, you pansy, you better start running some more."
That is a quote.
Okay, so you ran a half marathon and then your whole body seized up. And what are you doing? What's the next thing you're doing?
Running 19.3 miles in the same weekend.
What could possibly go wrong?
I could train better than I did for this last one.
What could possibly go wrong?
Sorry.
Are you choking on something over there?
Yeah, my bad.
I think I hear Adam's optimism about your race running, Dave.
No, not the running, the training. I've seen the running firsthand twice. I know he can finish It's the training that I kind of.
No, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna make myself do it. I have a goal, and I'm going to sign up to meet that goal.
You know what you need?
Just
You know what you need?
what's that?
A training montage, just like Rocky.
Oh,
Oh, Dave.
Adam, do I have a training montage?
I have to say one quick story. I don't want to take us too far off the rails. Funniest moment of the whole race was about a mile and a half, 2 miles into it, Dave. Dave tried to play the Rocky music. Now, he did the same thing at the Star Wars half, which was predominantly male, and it jazzed up the whole crowd around us at about mile 9 or 10, something like that, right? It jazzed up the whole crowd, and Dave was a famous person for a few minutes because of it. He tried it at the Princess Half Marathon. They were not a fan.
They all looked at me like, "What is this crap?"
They were not a fan. So that was pretty.
Adam, why did your body not seize up like Dave's?
I can't say. I trained probably less than Dave. I think probably because, and I'm not bragging, I'm just stating fact. It was the 8th time I've done a half, so I've done a few more. But I don't know. I can't tell you. My Achilles doesn't even hurt today.
I can
because
tell
I'm just strong like that, I guess.
I can tell you a theory that I've got.
Okay.
It's because you're used to running in 60 to 70 to 80
that's
degree
true,
heat,
yeah.
And it was reaching 90 degrees when we finished hit the finish line.
The best part of that, though, is today it only got to 75.
Yeah, and I've been training in 40 degree heat and 40 degree cold. So it's not. I don't want to blame the weather, but it was bad weather for running, especially for February.
And there were a lot of people. It was a rough course to run.
I will never ever run the Princess Half Marathon.
There were 23,000 people then.
Yeah,
running this race. Most of the course was a one lane of World Drive. Yeah, it was tough. But hey, we're here, and evidently Dave's here too. So welcome to the show, Dave. We're glad to have you, I guess.
You couldn't get rid of me this week. So
here he is, folks.
So take over. Go ahead. What are we talking, Dave? Since you're here, go ahead.
No, Ben, this is your show, man. This is your show. You are the leader.
Well,
this is your show.
Where were we, Adam, before we were so rudely interrupted?
We were on our way to our biggest show ever, but now I think we're just going to talk basketball with Dave.
Oh yes, we got a little basketball talk that we're saving for later in the show. But I think first we got to talk about the alliance, because the two teams near and dear to this show. We like all the alliance teams, but there's two that are especially near and dear because that's where we're located. Birmingham and Orlando are both 3-0.
Yeah, they're both 3-0 and both looking really good, but for both different reasons. The Birmingham Iron team, I can't tell if it's just because of my fandom or if it's because of what I've seen on TV. The Birmingham Iron team looked like an Alabama college team. A solid defense and a serviceable enough offense that'll win a game if you have to let them win a game, and a running back that will score touchdowns, because that's all Trent Richardson can do. Whereas Orlando looks like a Steve Spurrier ran team.
You're not complaining about either of these things, are you?
No, I'm not, because first off, any league that has Steve Spurrier needs to thank their lucky stars. And any league that has a defense-led team needs to also be thankful, because you can't go wrong with either of those components.
Are there any other undefeated teams in the league besides Birmingham and Orlando?
No.
Nope.
No.
It's just come down to these two teams in the Southeast, and they're meeting up in when? 2 weeks? Is that right?
Yeah, 2 weeks, and Birmingham's got the Commanders, got San Antonio in between now and then. Orlando's got Salt Lake, so Birmingham's definitely got the tougher test this coming weekend heading into the game. So if they both come in 4-0, Birmingham will have already passed a tough test right before. So we'll see how it goes. And I think that game's in Birmingham, right? The Orlando game between the two is later in the season.
Yeah, the first one is in Birmingham. So Birmingham's coming off of a win on the road at Atlanta. Atlanta was picked to be really great. They've been discombobulated the entire season. They don't have anything good going for them. And Birmingham actually had a ton of fans show up at the game in the former Turner Field.
Yeah, they really did. And first off, as a Braves fan, how cool is it to see Turner Field again? Because, I mean, that's where the Braves played for our fandom.
Yep.
It's kind of good and it's kind of weird.
Yeah, it is. It is. But first off, Atlanta was picked to be good. But I'm going to go ahead on a limb and say this: they were picked to be good when Mike Vick was still their offensive coordinator, when Brad Childress was still there. Not Childress, whoever. Yeah, it might have been Childress was still their head coach. But when those two guys got ran out of town, they were scrambling to find a head coach and an offensive coordinator within weeks of the team starting the season. So I think when you go there, the de facto East champion is probably either going to be Orlando or Birmingham. You have to be, because Memphis is in a tailspin. In fact, they're changing quarterbacks at the beginning of this season, beginning of this week. And honestly, Atlanta's horrible.
Well, I mean, and you said it yourself, defense wins championships, right? And I mean, the Legends outgained Birmingham. I mean, just in passing, they had over 300 yards alone. And so, I mean, it's the turnovers that made the difference in that game. And, I mean, the defense just shut it down. They had 3 interceptions on the game. And I think that your prophecy came true there, Dave. I mean, the defense won that game for Birmingham.
Well, the person who won that game for Birmingham was Alabama's own Trent Richardson. You have to really give it to Trent. Trent is showing his worth and his money on the goal line. But, Ben, what's Trent doing in the rest from the 20 to the 20?
Well, he's not. We've talked about this on previous shows. He's not getting great blocking, and so and a lot of the play calls want to send him up the middle. So that's not going to bode well for him in a lot of circumstances. So he's been able to get these touchdowns and not a ton of yards because he's played well in the red zone, and Birmingham's done just enough. So the best situation for Trent Richardson is just good field position to begin with. He's not going to be able to help assist a drive down the field. Birmingham's got to be opportunistic with their defense and set Trent Richardson up near the goal line.
Yeah, I just don't like, and call me old-fashioned, but I don't like these touchdown gobblers that you just give the ball to on the goal line. I want somebody who is going to average 100 yards a game, and Trent is really only averaging, I think, 50 at most.
His best game was the first one against Memphis. He had 58.
Yeah, his yards per carry is 2.2, which is almost last of all the starters in the AAF. But he's one of the leading touchdown getters in the AAF. So I don't know if we can say this is all offensive line, Ben. I just have an issue saying that.
Well, that's if he's not getting good yardage, but he's getting in the end zone, that's saying he's doing something right. And if he's not getting a lot of yardage, that could very well be the not getting the blocks up front.
I don't know. It also makes me a little upset to see that. I mean, this offensive line is nothing but Alabama and Auburn guys. And we know that Alabama and Auburn guys come with their corn-fed man who are supposed to be good at offensive line. So why is this one of their weak points?
Well, it's because an offensive line has to gel. And we had our guest on the show, Tom Abraham, that was saying that a lot of it is the blocking schemes that are there. So Birmingham's got to change up their blocking schemes a little bit, but they've also got to make sure that the offensive line gels. And you got to have everybody healthy too. A healthy offensive line can go a long way.
Yeah. I'll say though, David. I mean, if you look at this last game the Apollos had against the Express, I mean, every one of their rushers, I mean, and almost even Gilbert himself had 43 rushing yards himself. Smith had 52, Johnson had 79. All three of those just about were at or outgained Trent Richardson. And I think that kind of a balanced attack, it'll be interesting for me in 2 weeks to see how the Apollos do against the defense that Birmingham's got, because it seems more balanced already. It'll be interesting to see when you see that those two things clash against each other. Is it the blocking? Is it the scheme? Or is it the way that they call the plays themselves? Because, I mean, Orlando's able to get it on the ground.
Yeah, what gets me with I know we're looking ahead of ourselves, and Nick Saban has taught us never to do that, but I have to. One of Birmingham's biggest defenders is their safety, and he's out. So is that going to hurt Birmingham when you play this fun and gun of Steve Spurrier?
It won't help. I mean, I mean, Gilbert has proven his ability against every team so far to be consistent, And I think the less that you have at your disposal that in your normal arsenal when you play him, the harder it's going to be. So I don't think it helps at all.
Oh,
Ben, you looked like you had it.
He's the guy you want on the field.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we can talk the games ad nauseum, but we have to talk about truly what the big news coming out of the AAF has been the last couple of days. And honestly, we posted our show last week on Tuesday morning, late Monday night. And that morning, that Wednesday or Tuesday morning, the news that the AAF was not able to pay their players the first week broke. What does this do to a league like that? You know, you expect some money issues when you start the league, when you have the first couple of months of getting it off the ground, not when they are past the preseason and in the middle of games. So what does this do for the look of the AAF going forward?
Well, I think a big part of the story was that they had to bring in, a new chairman of the league, and that guy was able to float $250 million to help the league. Ultimately, the league made it sound like this was a payroll issue where they weren't able to get the money out to the players, not so much that they didn't have any money whatsoever. But a lot of people and a lot of the media took the story and ran with it that the league was broke and was completely bailed out. I think it was just a matter of having some of the money that was tied up in several different places able to be accessed and distributed to the players. So I think that's where the story is kind of questionable, because some of the media really wanted to say, they're broke, there's nothing going on here, and then other reports, including the initial report from The Athletic, didn't make it sound as severe as some of the other the retellings of the story. So yeah, I think this is not a good situation, but I also don't think it's quite as scary as some in the media have made it out to be.
And I don't know that it's a completely horrible thing. I kind of read it as taking all the media reports that were coming out initially with a grain of salt. I took it as someone actually thinks that there's a return on investment of $250 million in this league, and that it only took 1 week of the league being in existence to prove to this person that a $250 million investment would have some kind of return that's worth that much money. I mean, every player only makes, I think 3 years is $250 million, or $250,000 over 3 years, sorry.
Sign me up.
Yeah, right. $250,000 over 3 years. So that $250 million covers well beyond payroll. I mean, that covers every player for the next 3 years and then some, most likely, if you do the math, right? So for there to be enough stake here for someone to say that I'm going to invest in something and expect a return on that much money, I think it's a good sign for the league. I think anything like this, though, we've seen it with some of the stuff we've talked about with Herb Street and other media outlets, and kind of how Gary Danielson even announced the first game. There's a lot of folks out there that aren't rooting for this, and they're waiting for it to fail, and they're waiting to be the first to report that it failed, right? And I think that's what you saw, is a lot of people jump on that story. But, I mean, from a business perspective, somebody thought this is worth $250 million, enough to get money back on top of that. Yeah. So I think it's a good thing.
Well, one thing that you made a point, before we get into the Florida aspect of this, Adam, where we talk about more business, it came out yesterday while they were in the middle of a broadcast. They thought they were off mic. I can't remember who the sports play-by-play guy was that said it, but they thought they were off mic. But he came off and said, "Well, no one's paying attention to this anyway. No one's watching. Why are we even doing this?"
Wow.
So are people like Gary Danielson or the broadcasters, are they even believing in what they're reporting?
It sure doesn't seem like it.
No, it doesn't seem like it at all. I think it's shocking. But Adam, you brought up a good point to the group. In the state of Florida, there's a law where it's actually affecting the Orlando Apollos.
Yeah, so there's some technicalities legally, and I can't believe nobody caught this, but there are technicalities legally about workers' compensation insurance provided by the state, and the state does not provide that to the type of employee that I guess they consider the football players to be. And so they're actually having to live in Jacksonville and practice in Georgia for the next, I think they reported yesterday that it's going to have to be the next 36 days. So the next 5 weeks of the season. So it's a good portion of the remaining time that they've got. But once they get 51% of their practice days done in Georgia, Georgia would consider them employees under Georgia law at that point, and then they get to move back to Florida. So had they caught this earlier and done a lot of their original stuff that they were doing in the preseason, they wouldn't have had to do it as long, and probably they could have just done their post San Antonio training camp, in Jacksonville and Georgia had been fine, but they didn't catch it until it was too late. And I mean, these are the kind of bugs that you work out with something new. I'm just shocked with something like this. The surprising thing for me was Jeff Fisher, after the first Orlando game, spoke during the press conference, and he made a big deal about how much the league is focused on the player, and to miss the workers' compensation insurance that would cover that player, it kind of, it muddles that message a little bit. I still believe their heart's in the right place, though, but you would have liked to have seen them catch this sooner. I do think it's funny, though, that how much did Spurrier dominate or try to dominate Georgia for so long, and now the guy's got to practice in the state of Georgia.
So here's the question. Is that an every year thing? So 51% of their practices every year have to be in the state of Georgia? Unless
Florida changes their law, yes.
Okay. So Ben, you look like you were about to say something.
Well, no, I think while we're very optimistic about this league, we've pointed out that there are a lot of people who are very pessimistic about this league.
Yep.
If the optimists win out and this league continues on for 2 or 3 seasons, I think you're going to see in a place like Florida, where there's all this hype about the Orlando Apollos, and there's all the people in the state of Florida who are loyal to somebody like Steve Spurrier. I think you're going to see a state legislator of some sort step up and pass the Apollo law that creates a new special rule for workers' compensation for people that are doing like minor league sports. Something along those lines, because that will be able to solve this problem. So I think if you see this league continue on, I think there's going to be some sort of exception at the state level made, just because that's the politics of it. If this is generating money in Orlando, there's going to be a legislator who's interested in it. If there's a legislator who wants to figure out a way to meet Steve Spurrier, there's going to be a legislator interested in it, because they want to be able to have that photo at the Capitol where they're shaking hands with Steve Spurrier. So I think somebody's going to step up and solve this problem. If the league continues in the long term, it'll get solved.
Well, so, and the thing, too, about it is for them is that they play at Salt Lake on the 2nd of March. They play at Birmingham on the 9th of March, like we've already talked. They don't play a game here until the 16th anyway. So they only have to do this until, I believe, the end of the month, or the 1st of March. So by the time they would have had a home game, they'll be back in Orlando practicing in their home stadium anyway. So, I mean, it sounds worse than I think the impact would be. It looks worse for the league than it does for the team, I think. But the problem is the league just can't find an insurance company. I mean, that's what the Magic and the Dolphins and these guys have, companies that will provide insurance because they know that the company backing the team is good for it. And I think until the league establishes itself, they're going to be at the good graces of state law for workers' comp.
Well, and a lot of the teams in the alliance are essentially just holed up in hotels anyway. The Birmingham team is in a hotel here in Birmingham pretty much for the entire season. So if you're the Apollos, I get it. Like at some point you want to experience your home field while you're practicing and have scrimmages on your home field. But for the most part, if you're on a practice field in Georgia or a practice field in Florida, it's not that big of a difference. Could be a few degrees warmer in Orlando. We talked about you guys running races in Orlando. You could get used to the heat and humidity a little bit better if you're not practicing in Georgia. But ultimately, it's not going to be that big of a deal for these guys, especially since most of these guys have had professional experience before. They've definitely had college experience before. They're used to being on the move, on the road, getting packed up and relocated a lot. So if you're living out of a hotel for 3 months, it shouldn't be that big of a contrast, whether you're a hotel in Jacksonville or Orlando or somewhere in South Georgia.
Yeah, that's very true. I don't know. I hope that these issues do get fixed up, because I do think that this league has the staying power, and I think Tom said it the best last week, that if this league knows what's best for them, they'll stay in their lane and become a minor league system for the NFL. And really, I think the best option is for the NFL to buy the AAF out eventually and become a minor league system. And I think that's what's going to happen eventually. And you might even see somewhere where the NFL buys both the XFL and the AAF, and you start seeing a minor league feeding system for the NFL like we see for the Major League Baseball, and now what the G League is doing for NBA. So that's just my two cents in the pot in the system. Ben, do you have any games for us to pick for the AAF this one?
Yeah, I certainly do. Let's go ahead and pick the games for Week 4 in the Alliance. First up is the Saturday afternoon game. It puts San Diego at Memphis. Memphis is changing quarterbacks. They are going with Mettenberger, and is that going to be enough to help them out?
No, it's still Memphis. It's still a discombobulated team. San Diego.
Yeah, they looked good against the Apollos. They held their own, especially in the second half. But I think San Diego is going to take it.
I got to agree with you guys. I like San Diego on the road. Memphis has got to show me a little bit more. And maybe Mettenberger playing 4 quarters is that little bit more. But until he gets them a win, I'm going to go with San Diego. Next up, the Saturday night game puts Orlando on the road at Salt Lake.
Salt Lake gave Birmingham all they can handle and then some. I want an undefeated versus undefeated Birmingham versus Orlando game, but I don't see that happening. I got Salt Lake winning this one.
Wow, look at you. Hashtag take aim. I think Orlando's going to handle. I am a little bit worried about the fact that the Stallions beat the Hot Shots. The Hot Shots looked like they were going to be one of the favorites on the west side, but I think Orlando's going to take it on the road.
Yeah, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. I'm going to keep trusting Steve Spurrier and the Apollos until I have a reason not to. That reason in a few weeks may be facing the Birmingham defense. I did it too, Dave. Facing the Birmingham defense, but facing Salt Lake, I still like Orlando to get the job done. Next up, San Antonio at Birmingham. This is the Sunday afternoon game. Who do you guys like for this one?
I'll take Birmingham. Like you said, if it's not broke, don't fix it.
Yeah, I agree. San Antonio was supposed to be one of the best. They're 1-2 now after a couple of, especially last week against San Diego, a pretty big loss. I think Birmingham will handle business with that defense they've got.
You know, if San Antonio was doing a little bit better, I might be optimistic. But they're 1-2. They're not ready to face what I think's the best defense around. So gotta take Birmingham at home. Home field advantage also does matter, especially when you've got a crowd like the Iron have been turning out. So taking Birmingham at home. One last game to pick, that is the Sunday night game. It's Atlanta at Arizona. Atlanta trying to make something happen, trying to get their first win of the season. And Arizona, they're doing okay. They're 2-1. They've got a winning record. Who do you guys like for this matchup?
Atlanta is, I hate to say it because this is the kiss of greatness, but Atlanta's a dumpster fire. So I'm going to go with Arizona to win.
Yeah, just don't say the F word, Dave. Yeah, I think Arizona's got this one, and I'll further that prediction to say that Atlanta, if the AAF win, I should say the AAF makes it to their second season, Atlanta is the one team that starts to look for another city to reside in. Atlanta, as a city, has just kind of shrugged their shoulders overall, and I think the team feels that, and I think they're going to be 0-4 after this weekend.
Yeah, hard to not think that this road game would be the opportunity for Atlanta to get on track. I'm going to take Arizona, the Hot Shots, at home.
Mm-hmm. That's such a hot shot, Ben.
It was a very easy shot to take, picking Arizona right there.
Yeah. Another easy shot to take, the shot to take over and grab yourself a Roo Sport at www.theroosport.com. Adam, tell them about the cool experience you and I had this weekend.
Yeah, we actually got to meet Earl Brundage, the creator, I guess, of the Roo Sport, you could say. Got a chance to stop by their booth at the Half Marathon Expo and get a chance to talk to him and just kind of compare notes around, what they're trying to do, what we're trying to do. And it's really cool to see somebody who's so passionate about their product, because we already sing its praises every week. We talk about how great it is, and we've experienced firsthand. But it was great to talk to Earl and just see a guy, selling his craft. Really good guy. And he actually, was really nice to our families and everything like that too. So great. It's a great product, and a great product will stand on its own. But when you have a great product that has great people making and selling it, that makes all the difference at the end of the day. And they were really great.
They really were. In fact, you always hear about how Adam and I use our product, how Ben uses the product, in other places. In fact, Ben, remind me to tell you something about your use of the Roosport here in a second after this story. But they were so gracious. Adam said they were gracious to our families. They gave my wife a Roosport pouch that looks like Minnie Mouse, and gave Adam's wife one as well.
Yep.
And my wife, she's not a runner. She's an active person, but she's not a runner. She thought, you know what? We're at Disney. I've got a backpack. I've got all these things I need to carry. She put her Roosport on her pants to wear around Disney, and put her phone in there. And she was amazed at how she didn't even really feel her phone when she was walking around the park. She truly was amazed at how great this product was. So there's a use for it from a non-runner to tell you how good the product is. And Ben, go ahead.
No, I'll just say, Ben, Earl had some advice for you.
Yeah.
Don't leave the Roosport in a place the dog can reach if you put treats in it, because I know we were talking about that last week. He said you wouldn't believe the number of phone calls and emails he gets of, oh my gosh, my dog ate my Roosport kind of thing. But he said you can just machine wash it and lay it out flat if that happens.
I am keeping the Roosport in a very high location where it is not easily accessed. But if you ever found yourself in a situation where you needed another Roosport, you can get 30% off, right, guys?
Yeah. Use the promo code Sideline30. That's spell out the word Sideline, the number 30. Use that at checkout. You get 30% off at www.theroosport.com. So check them out. Adam and I used ours on Sunday.
Sure did.
And he kept sports beans and was your phone in there too?
I kept 2 packets of sport beans, my phone, a goo, and my AirPods.
Wait. You brought your AirPods to a race knowing that you're going to run with me?
Yeah, just in case.
We're going to have to talk about this off air.
Why? Didn't you have headphones?
He wanted to hear the Rocky theme.
I knew I was going to be hanging out with you, so why would I want to bring music?
Oh, I figure, okay, because we'll talk about that. Okay, we will have a conversation off air, because when you got popular with our pace group, you left me in the dust for a minute. So we will talk offline then.
You each get your own pod, and as long as you run together, you can hear the same music.
Isn't that sweet? I'll next time, Dave, I'll bring my AirPods and some sanitizing wipes then.
Okay, there you go. Guys, go to Roosport.com, theroosport.com. You'll love the product as much as we do. Something else that we love on this show is debating. And the great debate at this time of the year is bracketology. Ben, you're up to date with all the bracketology. You sent me all your cheat sheets today, and so I don't know if you could say that you're the most learned person on the show about bracketology, because I did some studying today. But what are your views on what this last week has done for Alabama in the bracketology world?
The last week has not done much for Alabama in terms of bracketology. But the great thing about bracketology is you are never alone. Like, even if you have a bad week, there's still people out there that can have a worse week than you. And that seems to be what is helping keep Alabama afloat. Bama is 1-3 in their last 4 games. Their only win is against Vandy, which has not won a game in the Southeastern Conference. So if I told you that generally, you would say, oh, well, that's it. Bama's completely done. But as you take a look at some of the most recent bracketologies that are out there, there is still, Bama getting the benefit of the doubt and getting some love. There are brackets out there that have Alabama as a 12 seed. Now, in those situations, Alabama is one of the last four buys. So, or not one of the last 4 buys, one of the last 4 in terms of the playing games. So, who those other teams are varies from bracket to bracket, but there seems to be a general consensus that Alabama would be in a play-in game as a 12 seed. So, playing for the opportunity to continue on as a 12 seed and facing a 5 seed team in the field of 64. Now, I've told you guys my personal opinion. If you know the by the letter, if you make it into the play-in game, you are in the NCAA tournament because you're in the field of 68, and the field of 68 is what defines the tournament. But me being old school, the tournament's 64 teams. If you don't win and make it into the field of 64, you didn't make the tournament in my mind. So you may have technically actually made the tournament, but if you're not in the field of 64, I don't care. You didn't make the tournament.
No, if you make the field of 68, congratulations, you just won a upward sports game. If you make the field of 64, then we're talking. But to me, 68. When they went to 68, they're trying to find a reason to let every team make the playoff, and every team gets a participation ribbon. And if you want to get me going, get me on that topic. But I truly agree with you, Ben. I think that being in the last four in doesn't really do anything for Alabama as a whole.
So, Dave, this doesn't change that you are unbuckled about the team, but does it make you at least optimistic that Alabama is still in the conversation?
I'm optimistic that Alabama is still in the conversation, yes. There are two trains of thoughts about this, and I think every Alabama fan can probably agree with my train of thought. Be you a fog, be you a bog. But there are two trains of thought that come with this. One, yay, we're going to make the postseason and continue on to be able to mold this team.
It's not the NIT.
It's not the NIT. Two, the negative train of thought is we're going to make the postseason and embarrass ourselves on national TV when every eye is going to be on us. So I'm stuck in the middle of those two thoughts. Am I wrong, Ben? Is that the mindset of a lot of Alabama basketball fans right now?
I think there are a lot of Alabama basketball fans that are disappointed. They're checked out. The loss to Texas A&M was what eroded a lot of people's confidence. You can understand losing on the road at Mississippi State. That happens a lot. Mississippi State is playing well at home recently. That's understandable. Losing at home to Florida is a little bit more questionable, but it still could be chalked up to a fluke because Florida is such a strong defensive team. You could just have a bad outing. But to lose to Texas A&M after losing those two games, really, I think to lose those three in a row and to lose them the way they did, for Alabama to be so poor on offense in the three losses, as well as having 30 good minutes of offense and then 10 minutes of being checked out again against Vandy even, and letting Vandy back into a game, I think that's got a lot of fans frustrated, and a lot of fans are not real optimistic about where this team's going, and they shouldn't be, because this was a team that was well on the safe side of the bubble, and now they're clawing to find a way into the field of 68.
So, Ben, can I ask you then, if you look at the remaining schedule, knowing the projection out there is a 12 seed that we're going to have to play ourselves into right now, we should go 2-2 in a realistic mind to round out the season. Is that 2-2 baked into that? Are we going to have to overachieve? And what if we underachieve? Like, is there no room for error now? Like, what's your take on that?
No, I think I quite honestly think there was no room for error going into the Vandy game. And in a lot of ways, the last three games of the season were kind of projected as losses anyway. LSU and Auburn were almost going to have pretty much been thought of as losses all the way. So Alabama right now is a 16-win team. They've got to find another couple of wins. I think because Alabama's strength of schedule is so good, and they have a few good wins out there. Wins over Mississippi State, wins over Kentucky, those kind of things. Alabama's resume is decent if the other bubble teams continue to lose, and that's where Alabama's been benefiting. I think Alabama would already be on the wrong side of the bubble if it wasn't for the fact that other bubble teams have lost games and tapered off. So if you look at Ken Palm right now, the South Carolina game is projected as a loss. So is LSU, so is Auburn, and so is Arkansas. If this team in a couple of weeks is still at 16 wins, some magic has to happen in the SEC tournament to get them into the NCAA tournament. Bama has got to find a way to turn a few of these wins, a few of these projected losses into wins. They need to have 18 wins going into the SEC tournament, and that's doable. Arkansas has looked strong in recent weeks, and then in the last couple of weeks has fallen apart again. So I think if Alabama could get a road win against Arkansas and a road win against South Carolina, I think those would be the two games that Alabama is best positioned to win, even though they're road games, because I think South Carolina and Arkansas would be easier opponents. Even though South Carolina has done great in SEC play, they've still got their flaws. However, LSU and Auburn are definitely tournament teams. If you can pick up a win there, that is a big resume boost. Both of those are home games, so Alabama certainly has split the series with Auburn before. That would be a great opportunity to pick up a win that really boosts the resume. If Alabama can get to 18 wins going into the SEC tournament, I think they're in good shape. If they're still at 16, I think they're in pretty bad shape. If they're at 17, I think things are really questionable. So Alabama's got to find a way to pull 2 wins out of the next 4.
So I want to drag a take out of you real quick, Dave. If you had to pick between Alabama makes the field of 68, either loses the play-in game or loses in the first round,
Okay.
or is a higher seed in the NIT and makes it a good distance, which would you prefer? Would either of those scenarios, would you be unbuckled in either scenario?
Yeah, I would be unbuckled, but I think if I'm going to take a druther, which one would you druther have? I'd druther have Alabama being a higher seed in the NIT and making a run towards New York, just because I think you can get more visibility as this is going to sound so bad, and I apologize, but this is just a good analogy. You'll get more visibility as the prettiest girl at an ugly girl convention than you would be the ugliest girl at a pretty girl convention, if you catch my drift. I think
the drift was pretty clear, yeah.
So I think my hot take is, if it's going to be one and done in the play-in or one and done in the field of 64 versus making it to the NIT and possibly making it to the final round in New York at Madison Square Garden, Ben, I don't know if you'd agree with me, but I'd say NIT and making it to the field of Madison Square Garden.
No, I'd have to say I would always rather be in the field of 64. Even if it's one loss there, you play one game in the field of 64 and it's over at that point, I still think it is better, it is more exposure to make it into the field of 64, to make the tournament, than it is in the NIT. Yeah, there's some good things going, to win a few games there. Sometimes that can be beneficial to a team to play in the NIT and finish the season on some sort of winning note. But in my opinion, it is always better to get your team into the tournament, because I think, while nobody ever wants to admit this, the committee that makes the selections for the tournament wants to think of tournament teams as teams that have been in the tournament before. And even if you make it into the field of 64 and you get the loss, just the fact that you've been in the field of 64, I think helps. You can't remove that bias from the committee. It's there. They don't want to admit it's there, but it is, because they're humans, and everybody has those little lazy elements where you just want to say, well, this team's been in there before, they're going to get the benefit of the doubt. So the field of 64 is definitely the preferred spot from my perspective.
Well, that leads us into the next topic beautifully then, Ben. The last 2 weeks, Adam and I have been pretty down on this Alabama basketball team and their resume and how they think how the committee will probably look at us. So I've taken it upon myself to say, let's do a blind test to Adam, or you too, Ben. I'm going to give you 5 stats of 4 teams. I want you to give me first 4 out, play-in game, the next 4 out, and the last 4 buys. So I'm going to give you 4 schedules or four teams or 4 resumes. I want you to tell me which resume goes in which category.
Okay, we're just putting it in the right bucket.
Right.
Okay.
All right. Resume A. Are we writing this down, class?
I'm writing. I'm taking notes, sir.
Got it.
Resume A is 16-11. Their projected finished record is 18-13. They are 9th in their conference. Their strength of schedule is 33rd. Their opponent's win percentage is 59%. Their conference win-loss record is 6-8, and they're projected to be 8-10. That's Team A. Don't tell me who they are yet, or where you think they'll be. Team B. 16-11, projected finish 18-13 as well. They are 8th in their conference. Strength of schedule is 28th. Their opponent's win percentage is 59%. Their conference win-loss record is 7-7, and they are projected to go 9-9. Are we ready?
What was the current record of Team B?
Current record of Team B is 16-11, projected to finish 18-13.
Got it. Please continue.
All right. Team C. They are at 14-13. Their projected record is 16-15. They are 4th in their conference. Strength of schedule is 19th. Their opponent's win percentage is 60%. Their conference win-loss record is 9-5. They are projected to finish 11-7. And now the final team. You ready?
Ready.
Is 16-11, projected to finish 17-13. They are also 4th in their conference. Their strength of schedule is 43rd. Their opponent's win percentage is 57%. Their conference win-loss record is 7-8, projected to finish at 8-10. So I want you to tell me, let's first go, where do you think Team A will be? Will they be first in? Will they be a first round bye? Will they be a last 4 in? Will they be one of the first 4 out or the next 4 out? Team A.
Hang on. Say the category. I'm sorry for our listeners, but please say the categories one more time.
All right. The first 4 teams that get a bye.
Yep.
The last 4 teams in. The first 4 teams out. And then the next 4 teams out.
Got it.
Where would you put Team A? I'll go to you first, Ben.
I think for Team A, I would say that would be a team that would be one of the last 4 in.
Okay.
Yeah, not to be a yes man, but I would say last 4 in too.
Okay.
Yep.
So both Ben and Adam say last 4 in. All right. Where would we put Team B? So you've already used your first 4 in. Where would you put Team B?
What was the strength of schedule on Team B?
28.
28.
Yeah, I'm gonna put Team B as one of the last 4 buys.
Okay, one of the last 4 buys.
Yeah, same here.
One of the last 4 buys. So they're in the field of 64, not 68.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yep.
Team C. They are the one 14-13. Projected finish is 16-15, but they're 4th in their conference. Their strength of schedule is 19th.
Yeah, I would say next 4 out there.
Okay.
I would say first 4 out on that one.
Okay.
So I'd have D as the next 4.
D is next 4 out.
Yep.
Yeah, and I'd have D as the first 4 out.
Okay. Well,
School us, Dave.
so I laugh very hard. Team A is Clemson. They are projected by Joe Lunardi to be the first 4 out. You both had them as the
Last 4.
field of 60. Field of 64. Team B, y'all laughed when I said the conference record. I figured you'd figure who it was.
Yeah.
It's Alabama.
Yeah.
And you both put them as the first bye. Adam, you were the one saying that they should not be in the tournament, and you have them in the field of 64. Team C, Ben, you got correct. I threw this one in there because of the strength of schedule. Strength of schedule is 19th. This is South Carolina. They're 4th in the SEC. They've had a good conference schedule or good conference play, but the rest of them is just horrible. They're projected to finish 16 and 15 at next 4 out. Seton Hall is Team D. You had them as the first 4 out. According to Joe Lunardi, they are the last 4 buys. So I think that's shocking that Joe Lunardi has them picked to really. I don't know. What does that tell you, Ben?
Well, it tells you all these teams are on the bubble.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it tells you just how fine of a line there is between all of these things, and how one game in the right direction for one of these teams and in the wrong direction for all the others can completely change a team's season.
Yeah. If Alabama finishes their projection, and I think judging by the projections I've seen, and I can't remember, I'm trying to pull up the site that I used for these projections. It was one of your sites that you sent me, Ben. It was teamrankings.com /NCAA tournament bracketology details. If you go in and look at their conference bracket rankings, they project your next couple of games when they project the season to be. I think Alabama's projected record was something like, I don't know, they projected them to win the next 1.7 games or something like that. So I just rounded up. But if Alabama does go 2-2, I could see them being a 12 seed and backing their way into the tournament. But I'm still not comfortable with that.
No, when you say not comfortable, do you mean you're not comfortable that would be enough to get them in the tournament, or not comfortable as in you'd still be unhappy?
I'd still be unhappy because this is a team that was supposed to be a good gelled team, and we haven't seen that this year.
Well, no, I think there are not many Alabama fans at this point who would say that this team has overachieved, and there's not many folks that would say this team has met or exceeded expectations. I think by most measures, folks would say this team has underachieved. Now, one regard where that would be a little different is that this team already has 16 wins. And at the beginning of the season, Ken Pom was projecting this team to go 15 and 14. So as far as the total number of wins, at least by some statistical measures, Ken Pom is wildly popular and trusted by a lot of folks. Alabama's exceeded that projection by 1 win already. So if they pick up another couple of wins, they will have exceeded some mathematical projections. But I think as far as you talk about what the fans were wanting, what the fans were expecting, when that Ken Pom projection came out at the beginning of the season, they go, "Oh, that's silly. That's vastly underestimating this team." So I think most folks would say Alabama has underachieved. So yeah, to be unhappy, I think it's a pretty fair statement, even if this team does sort of limp into the NCAA tournament.
Well, if they do limp in, Adam, what do you think? Do you've asked me? We've got Ben's opinion.
Yeah.
What do you think? Are you happy with that?
No, I mean, I'm happy with a spot in the tournament overall, in the sense of, okay, we've made it to the tournament. Based off of what we all think Alabama basketball needs to be, no. I don't think the fact that we're going to, I'm looking, just you pull up any bracket that shows like who the play-in teams would be, right? one of them has us in one region and UCF in another. We lost to UCF and didn't show very well against them, you know. And I think that we're at a level of where we're at that bubble, and really, I mean, you said it yourself a little bit, Ben. We were projected for 15. We have 16. We could lose the remaining 4, and the Kentucky win be the 16th that pushed us over the line. Had that not been Kentucky, and instead it was the last game of the year with Arkansas, it's a different story. And I think the team has done just enough along the way to get there. I'm tired of just enough. That's where I am. I'm happy to be there, of course. You know, you're at the dance with the pretty girls, to use your term, Dave. I mean, of course I'm happy, but I don't want to limp. I want to go in there being able to lead a partner around the dance floor, not step on our own toes and make us fall in the middle of everybody. I want to have a dance-off with Duke in the middle of the dance floor at the big dance. That's what I want, man.
Hey, what if Alabama wins the last 4 games of the season, and they magically get to 20 wins?
Then they've exceeded expectations for sure.
If Alabama gets to 20 wins with the remaining games left,
20 wins before the SEC tournament,
I would go as high as to say we probably put Alabama as a 9 seed. With the 2, I mean, LSU is a top 10 team. Auburn is still a highly regarded team. I would put Alabama as a 9 seed. The way they're projected now as a 12 play-in, then you've got to put them upwards of 9.
Yeah, if Alabama is able to win the next 4 somehow miraculously, I do think you'll see Alabama move up to being like a 9 or a 10 seed. But I do think that will require some really special magic.
Well, the LSU and the Auburn games are at home, and as we all know, where's it easier to win?
On the road?
At home.
Which, by the way, the stake bet is just about over, Dave.
No!
It's 57-43 in the favor of Mr. Benjamin Foster, 57% to 43%. With 28 games left in the SEC regular season schedule, it's a 14-game spread between the two. So it would have to significantly shift away. So Ben's going to be eating steak by all intents and purposes at this point. So.
Fine.
But hey, we've got that working for us for LSU and Auburn. They're at home.
There you go.
So maybe, you never know.
Let's shift to picking some of those games and see if my fortunes can turn. So let's pick some road teams here, Ben.
All right, here we go. The Tuesday night games in the SEC. We'll get to Alabama and South Carolina in a moment, but first we'll lead off with Mizzou on the road at Mississippi State. Speaking of getting to 20 wins, that's where Mississippi State's at. What's going to happen in the hump in Starkville?
You give me a game where the road team can't win first. Really? Give me Mississippi State in the hump.
Yeah, Dave, I hate to tell you, I think Tuesday's slate is going to be that way for the next 3 we're going to pick. Missouri. I'm sorry, Mississippi State, all the way on this one. Sorry.
Yeah, I've got to go with Mississippi State at home. Arkansas, at one point considered to be a bubble team, now seems to be well off the bubble at 14-13 on the season, 5-9 in SEC play. They are on the road at Rupp Arena. It would certainly help their resume if they could get a road win versus number 4 Kentucky. But is that going to happen?
No, I hate you, Ben.
I like you, Ben, and I pick Kentucky, if that helps.
I think you've got to pick Kentucky at home, so that will be the Cats. Next up, Texas A&M on the road at LSU. Is there any chance that this basketball game goes a little bit like the A&M LSU football game and has multiple overtimes and goes well into the night?
No. Fine.
There's the wine and the wine and dine right there.
I don't want to. Adam, what's your
say it? No, you didn't pick it.
No.
You didn't pick it, Dave, so you have to say it.
I uphold.
Okay.
Take
I'm
your
picking
pick.
LSU. I'm picking LSU, and Dave agrees with me. So Ben.
All right. I've got to take LSU. I've got to take LSU at home. One game left to pick on Tuesday. That is Alabama at South Carolina. South Carolina's 14-13 on the season, but they're 9-5 in SEC play. Some people think that SEC performance should make South Carolina be a tournament team. But what's going to happen with Alabama playing on the road?
According to the projections I've looked at, Alabama wins this game. I'm going to say 72-68 Alabama.
South Carolina's favored by 2. I think, unfortunately, they'll win by more. I've got South Carolina 66-60.
Just thinking about Alabama on the road with their recent offensive struggles tells me that they should not be able to pick up this win at South Carolina. But the history of the Avery Johnson era, while with all its warts and scars and all, one of the bright spots is that Avery Johnson has always done well against South Carolina, regardless of the situation. The year South Carolina went to the Final Four, Alabama pulled out a win versus South Carolina. I think this is a situation where Alabama is able to show out. It may not be pretty, but it will be a win. I'll take Alabama 67-64 over South Carolina. And those are the Tuesday picks. Now we've got some Wednesday night games. Tennessee, still a top 10 team, taking on Ole Miss in Oxford, Mississippi. What's going to happen?
Tennessee wins on the road. I'm excited.
There you go. That was easy.
Dave,
yeah,
you sounded like you needed that one.
I did.
Yeah, Tennessee here too.
I think I have got to go with Tennessee. Florida on the road at Vanderbilt. Florida's another bubble team who seem to be making the case for the SEC to have 8 teams in the tournament. What's going to happen at the Weird Gym, Memorial Gym in Nashville?
Vandy is winless in the SEC. They continue to be winless in the SEC. The road team, Florida Gators, get the win.
Yeah, Florida, I think, hands Vanderbilt, their 16th loss in a row?
Yeah.
That's sad. Yeah, Florida.
Poor Vandy. I feel so bad for them. I really do. I got to pick the Gators here. All right, it's one of the South's oldest rivalries of basketball, Auburn versus Georgia in Athens.
I don't want to say it, but I'm happy the road team gets the win here. Auburn wins.
Yeah, we're 3 for 3 for the road. I've got Auburn too.
If there was a time to pick the road team, this would be it. I will go with the Tigers on top of the Bulldogs. Now, it's time for the Saturday slate of games. We will have Ole Miss traveling to Arkansas. What happens with this game in Fayetteville?
Hotty toddy, gosh almighty, who the heck are we? We are the winners in Fayetteville.
Sorry. I just think about the story you told me about you saying hotty toddy to that random person, how painful it was. You had such joy when you said it then, Dave. I've got Ole Miss here too, on the road.
Oh, there's so much to think about here. Is there? No, Ole Miss is the better team. Arkansas will have faded at this point. I'll take Ole Miss on the road to get a win there and polish their resume a little bit. All right, Kentucky on the road at Tennessee. What happens in Knoxville, guys?
I think, and I'm not saying this because of the road team, when Kentucky played Tennessee the first time, we saw who the better team really, truly was. I've got Kentucky winning this on the road in Knoxville.
That's interesting. I'm just going to be different. I'm going to say Tennessee, as much as it hurts me for the bet and my own Alabama fandom to say that. I think Tennessee pulls one out at home here.
Kentucky was dominant at home. Now Tennessee is going to be dominant at home. I'm going to take the Volunteers to get the win. All right, moving on to the other games going on. We've got South Carolina on the road at Mizzou.
I'm just on a streak here. Go Cox. South Carolina wins on the road.
Yeah, South Carolina too. Yeah.
It sure seems like this would be a good time to pick a road team as well. Mizzou doesn't have much going on in their favor, so yeah, sure, why not? Let's go with South Carolina on the road. All right, Mississippi State taking on Auburn. You've got two presumed tournament teams. It could be a strong road win for Mississippi State, or it could be a good resume builder for Auburn. What's going to happen in this matchup?
The last time Auburn played Mississippi State looked like world beaters. It's going to happen again. Clang those cowbells. Who let them dogs out? Mississippi State.
The averages catch up to Mississippi State on this one in terms of how easy it is to win on the road versus home. And unfortunately, this one notches in the column of Ben Foster for the bet. Auburn beats Mississippi State at home.
I am going to agree with you there, Adam. Auburn's going to get the win, taking full advantage of the home court advantage. Vandy trying to get an SEC win. It may not come earlier in the week. If it doesn't, surely they'd have a chance on the road at Texas A&M, right? Could Vandy get their first win that Saturday?
No, gig 'em.
Yeah, this is where your streak ends, Mr. Adams. Texas A&M.
Are you guys both picking the home team?
Yes.
I'm taking Vandy on the road. They finally get one. This is it for the Doors. I'm going with Vandy. All right, Georgia on the road at Florida. Georgia doesn't have much left to fight for. Florida is just trying to avoid errors that would hurt their resume. What's going to happen?
You did that on purpose to get my hopes up, didn't you, Ben? You gave me all of those road wins in a row, and now you're making me pick the home team 2 times in a row. Florida wins this one.
Yeah, I've got the Gators too.
I will take the Gators as well. One game left to pick for Saturday. That is, of course, LSU at Alabama. It's an 11 a.m. tip-off, Central Time.
On one hand, I like steak. On the other hand, I'm an Alabama grad and fan. But you have to think with your head in this one and not your heart. LSU wins 75-62.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I've got LSU too, and I'll say 73-58.
Alabama was able to get a little bit of confidence back playing against Vandy, but they still weren't offensively that strong. Bama played LSU tough in Baton Rouge, but that's very different than playing the LSU team that is peaking right now. All indications say LSU should win this game. Alabama has deflated, LSU has risen. But I got to be optimistic. And I got to say it's tough to play on the road in the SEC. Bama needs it. They're going to get it. They're going to eke out a win 72-71 over LSU.
This is the same man that picked Alabama to be in the Final Four of last year's tournament, y'all.
That's true.
I'm just bringing the optimism where there is none.
As we say, bless your heart, Ben Foster.
Bless your heart. All right, Ben, there's our picks.
Those are the picks.
Sideline warning.
Indeed, it is time for the sideline warning. There was a great article from The Onion, which I do love The Onion, that a friend sent me earlier in the day. And the headline, I won't go into the whole article, but the headline was simply, MLB Players Association advises the remaining free agents to try adding keywords like baseball to their resumes. And the whole Onion article is just suggesting that the guys, try to accentuate the positives so that way the free agents will actually get signed somewhere. I've got a much better idea. If we're going to be that satirical like The Onion, if that's how sad things have gotten in baseball, that guys like Bryce Harper, who we hate but is definitely a talented and valuable baseball player, can't get signed, it is time for the free agents to go start their own franchise. Major League Baseball wants to expand. They want to get into new markets. They want to get into new cities. There's places like Seattle, Portland that want to bring teams in. Seattle's got the Mariners, but the Northwest thinks they could put something in Portland and make a team happen there. That's why Russell Wilson is sitting up there in Seattle putting money into a Portland franchise in hopes of getting a baseball team there. But I say, here's what we need. The new Major League Baseball franchise should be in Las Vegas, and all of the free agents should come together and create this franchise and call it the Las Vegas Harpers. Bryce Harper is from Las Vegas. The whole idea may sound a little crazy. It may sound like a gamble, and that's why it's perfect for Las Vegas. So let all the free agents go, let them go make their own team, and let them play in Las Vegas, and let's see what happens. There's a lot of talent out there that hasn't been signed. If you put it all on one team, it will be a very talented team.
I'm sorry, Ben, but the first team or the first city that doesn't have a team needs to be Nashville, Tennessee.
That's in Braves country.
Nashville, Tennessee. I will buy season tickets to any team in Nashville, Tennessee.
You'll buy season tickets to a Nashville team headlined by Bryce Harper?
You just called my bluff. Okay.
We found the way to keep Dave from spending money.
All right, Adam, hit us with your sideline warning.
Oh, yeah. Everybody's super excited about the Apollos. They're undefeated. Great football. And I'm very happy when we hear the Apollos folks say that they're going to stay in their lane. And I asked the question specifically, much to the chagrin probably of our representatives from the Legends that we have on. But I asked about arena football and the comparison to arena football specifically, because one of my favorite sporting events that I've ever been to was when the Predators were in Orlando and they had an arena football team downtown. Well, Orlando, I have good news. We're back on April 13th with Orlando Predators Arena Football, where everything in the building, from the first down to the goal line to the red zone to the touchdowns, are sponsored. The spectacle that is arena football will be back. The good news is that there's only one home game, I think one in April, two in May, two in June. So it's at the end of the season. It's past the Apollos. It's out past anything we'll be doing with them. So it shouldn't cut into it, but it's a spectacle to see, and I'm glad that it's back. And I was sad when it left. It was one of my favorite things to take Aiden to. So we can support the Apollos. We can root them on. Let's also support the Predators and welcome them back to Orlando and go see a couple of those arena football games while we're at it.
I didn't even know arena football was still a thing. Yeah,
it's the National Arena League. Now there's like teams in Columbus and Maine and Jacksonville, Lehigh Valley. Like it definitely feels, to coin a Kirk Herbstreit phrase, JV, because of some of the cities involved. But they're trying to get it back where they're at least now into this new league. So it's exciting.
Well, originally my sideline warning was going to be on Nike and the Zion Williams thing. I don't believe a kid should cause a major company to lose 6% of their company's worth after blowing out his foot because a shoe failed. It might have just been one shoe malfunction. Some poor 6-year-old in Zimbabwe lost a job. I'm sorry. Lord, I apologize, be with the pygmies. But Ben is looking in horror over here.
We're very glad that you changed topics, but you covered it anyway. But what's your other sideline warning then, Dave?
Ben brought up a funny topic and a way to go about free agency better. But I got one. Hey, Bryce Harper, stop being a greedy little money hungry guy. I wanted to say another word that I can't say on a family-friendly show. And just make up your mind already. You're already going to have the richest contract in baseball history. You're already probably one of the better players in Major League Baseball right now. Be careful what you do, because look at what happened to Alex Rodriguez once he signed the best contract in baseball. He went the route of the dodo bird and became, I don't know, target number 0, and everyone hated him from then on. You're already a marked hated man, Bryce Harper. Go ahead and sign with the Phillies. Go to a team where you're not the darlings if you are kind of mediocre like you were in the Nationals. If you have a .236 batting average with the Phillies, the people of Philadelphia will let you hear it. They are not a nice sports town. They're a good sports town, but they are not a nice sports town. So you might as well go ahead and sign with the Dodgers or sign with the Giants and go out to the West Coast and live in no man's land. Ask Mike Trout how that's working out for him. But go out and do that if you're going to do your 236, 30 home runs type season like you're used to in the Nationals, because you will get booed in Philadelphia and you will be asked those clown questions, bro, all the time. And Philadelphia will not be as nice to you as they were in Washington. Go ahead, Bryce. Make my day. Sign with Philadelphia. Live in obscurity for the rest of your life, because you will be making that money, but you will not be a fan favorite in the city of Philadelphia doing what you have done in Washington. I love those laughs that y'all are giving me back there. Y'all didn't think I was going to do it, did you?
Bryce's ears are burning right now, dude.
I got it. Bryce, I just gave you a clown question, bro. Answer it.
Catch Dave outside.
Catch me outside.
How about
How about that? All right. If you want to get a hold of the show and leave a question for the show, Adam, how do they call the show?
931-44 Blitz. That's 931-44 Blitz. You'll hear a brief message. It'll cut over to my voice, actually, that you'll hear. Ask you to leave a message after the beep. Leave one. We'll play it. We'll answer your question. We'll discuss your take, whatever it is. And I think we're 100% so far. So 931-44 Blitz.
We are. Ben, you started the show off, so it's only fitting that I bow out and let Hollywood Ben Foster finish the show the way he started it.
The way I started it? Well, there's only one thing left to say. I think we've covered all the social media and all those things, right? We've got everything there?
We need the socials.
We need the socials? All right. Well, of course, if you wanted to follow me on social media, I would be at the Ben Foster. Adam Russell is, of course, at Run Tide Run, and Dave Adams is, I never know anybody's off the top of the hand. I just put in DA and it pulls Dave up. What are you?
D Adams 419.
At D Adams 419, and of course you can catch the show at SW the Show. So be sure and check us out on all of the socials. That is how you can keep up with us. What did I forget? Did I leave anything out? No, I think that's everything. So nothing left to say, but if you're a free agent, please sign with the Braves. And to all of our listeners, good night and roll Tide.